Good evening, this is Kuro. Got a tier 6 game in my Gaede, and saw some forum posts where people were struggling with this ship and wanted to kind of talk about how to play her. Uh, and also her sister Z23. They're both kind of unusual in the respect of their 150 millimeter armament. It they're a little different to play. So, the quickest explanation is you don't want to go out, actively seeking to fight enemy destroyers. You're going to run into them anyway, but when you do, um, you obviously want to set that fight up in your favor where you have more support. Your support's closer to the fight than the enemy's, and you really want to draw um, that enemy DD out to where they're vulnerable and you're able to, get a really good trade on it. The good news is you have HP for days with the German line. I mean, these things have like, nearly 2 tiers higher um, HP pool. And so while you might have low DPM, you can tank your way through, a lot of these fights just because you have so much more HP to that the enemy needs to chew through. So getting back to Gaede, the other low tier German destroyers, you don't yet have an offensive hydro. You have what I would refer to as a defensive hydro. Uh, and when I say that, I don't just mean, all about, torpedoes. Yes, they will detect torpedoes. Yes, more so than any destroyer, you should never eat torps in a German destroyer. Um, but I'll talk a little bit. I'll expand a little bit more about that. Now I'm kind of anticipating, the Fubuki or Farragut. Neither one of them I consider really huge threats to me. Um, but I do have a strike package coming in. So I'm just going to pop smoke. I slow up so I can get inside of the smoke. I don't want to be spotted even for a second. And then I just keep reversing and trying to extend the smoke um, so it's inside the cap. Now, only at this point am I, popping hydro. And I'm just riding right here. I kind of think something's going to poke out. My Cleveland's going to spot it. But nothing appears to be popping up. So here after a minute, once I realize I'm not going to get any shots, I'm just going to go, get closer to this island in here so I'm not as exposed to torpedoes. I mean, there's a Fubuki out there. They've got really slow torps. Um, so why not just make myself a little bit harder target, even though I do have hydro. My smoke runs off because it is, short duration German smoke. But I'm able to drop off here as the plane moves outside of my concealment range. Now at this time, my CV spots the Farragut. The Fubuki spotted on the other side of the map. So I know there's no real DDs, no real concealment threats in front of me other than, the CV flying planes over me. So the mini-map's also telling me that the bulk of the enemy team is pushing my way, and that's a really good thing for predominantly a torpedo boat destroyer. Again, if I had to label the German destroyers, I would label them 60% torpedo boat, 40% hybrid gunboats. You're going to see a lot more gunplay than probably normal here in a little bit. But that's one of the reasons why I kind of picked this game, is people never really struggle with the torps. They're fantastic torps. They've got good range, great speed, great concealment. You know, they hit okay. You know, they've got an okay flood chance. But I mean, other than that, landing these torps, they're very consistent. I did torp that Warspite outside my maximum range. The reason being, he was coming towards me, and I figured that when the Pensacola had died, he would try to angle more on this against this Warspite. That, of course, never really happened. He gave more broadside, so that's how I knew the torps were gonna miss. So, was telling this Warspite he needs to get back. I don't care how good you are. You're not going 1-on-4, 1-on-5, and winning that fight. You're just gonna get steamrolled. So instead, I'm gonna spot this Alba for him, call target on him, try to get this guy to take out the Alba. While I push up, and I'm just gonna start delaying this flank with torpedoes. And this is where a torpedo boat, in my opinion, excels over a gunboat. She's just, you know, you're able to do massive amounts of damage. The floods instantly blow damage control, making ships far more vulnerable to your team for follow-up fires. I was waiting for this Normandy to turn an angle to this Warspite. That's not happening, so figure the hell with it. I'm just gonna smoke up and just start shooting this guy and see where he turns. And he starts rushing my smoke screen. And when I was talking about a defensive smoke or a defensive hydro, yeah, one part of that is, you know, defending yourself against torpedoes, making sure that you're safe. The other one is just flat out, you know, this guy can't drop off anymore. Now, one thing to note about the guns have the same smoke firing concealment between the 128s or 150s, at least the last time I checked. I think it's a bug that your 128s on most other destroyers would be like 2.8, 2.9 kilometer concealment. You're like 3.5, 3.6 on this DD, simply because it has the option to mount 150 millimeter guns, and you know the game apparently doesn't recognize the difference in guns giving you a difference in concealment when you're in your smoke. So that was the last shot that I'm going to fire at this Normandy. But this guy can't drop off. You know, I've got a 4-kilometer hydro. He's well inside it. I'm using my smoke screen to get a head of steam up. And I basically come in here and I skirt just outside of proxy detection range. And I could control that distance because I knew where he was at the entire time. So that's another way that I mean when I'm talking about a defensive hydro. Somebody trying to rush your cap, you know, you're able to punish them at least initially until they get under 4 kilometers. And at that point, you know, if you're continuing to shoot, you're going to be persistently detected through your smoke. So what I'm doing right here, you know, the enemy, I'm looking, their guns aren't trained on me, so I am just, you know, lighting ships on fire. You know, oh, you don't have a fire? Well, here, let me shoot at you and try to light you on fire. So just waiting just before this guy gets into cover. Unfortunately, no fires there. Pick up another fire on the Warspite, and it's this pressure that you're instilling with your 150s. You've got really good fire chance. It's one of the reasons why I'm really iffy about IFHE on these captains. Yes, you would do more raw damage just with more consistent pins. I don't know if it's. I personally don't think that it's worth it because you lose so much in your fire chance. At that point, I just feel like you stop becoming like a balanced destroyer, and you're becoming far more specialized. So just gonna keep working guys over at this point. Again, just stretching those guns out. You know, I'm playing pretty close to fire, or close to cover, and just trying to use, you know, these damage opportunities just to farm that additional, you know, fire chance. New York came around the island. He gets evaporated. Fire still burning on Fuso. Currently at 83k, and you can see just how the game's going. Your damage just keeps ramping up. You know, you just keep chipping away at these battleships, you know, volley after volley, you know, using your smoke, using cover, whatever. You've got, you know, a pretty good chance to set a fire with a single volley. You know, personally, I think that the way to play these boats is around the dots. You know, you set the fires, force the repairs, drop the torps on them, get the floods, or if somebody ate a torp, you smoke up, farm them with your HE. You know, it's really effective. Right now, I'm ignoring ACAP because this game's pretty much over and I want to farm some more damage. So, you know, that's what I'm going to do. Now, IFHE with that last shot probably would have not shattered on this Warspite. But honestly, at this angle, AP would give me even more damage than IFHE would. And I kind of doubt that IFHE would be able to light as many fires as I've had this game. I actually think that this is off the top of my head. I don't have any fire flags or any flags on this right now. Yeah, I don't. I mean, that was one pen right there for 1200. You can see the theoretical AP DPM right there was I don't even know what that was. But at this point, this game's winding down. We're up at almost 110k. We got 9 fires with 82 shell hits. You know, that's pretty good fire chance. We're just going to run at the CV. Maybe if we're lucky, we can get in range and get some damage in, but points run out. So again, just to sum it up, Gaede Z23, you really want to just be constantly harassing the cruisers, the battleships, you know, all of those guys, just lighting them on fire. I mean, you look at, you know, my damage. This is kind of typical for these ships, where my fire damage actually is pretty close to my torpedo damage. Now the AP damage is a little low, just because I was mainly trying to farm fires. But you get broadside, you know, ships. I mean, even cruisers. You can Citadel cruisers with this at, you know, pretty extreme ranges for a destroyer. But the AP is a little light. I only fired a couple AP volleys. Uh, you know, sometime in the future I'll probably get a video up with more AP usage. But you know, this is how I play Gaede Z23. Try to focus on harassing and eliminating the support for the enemy destroyers. Then at that point you can come in with your team and just clean house. Hope you guys enjoy the game. If you have any questions, comments, leave them below. Hope you're having a good night, and I'll talk to you later.